I'll give you the commercial on Poplar Ventures.
Yes,
So,
do it.
The reason that I ultimately got to the point where I said I'm going to go raise my own fund was I had kind of evolved into focusing on software technology companies. I'd had some success. The Zermed transaction occurs, and that's kind of, now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I could just keep doing that. I could just keep investing, when I find the right types of companies, do it on a one-off basis, bring in a few people. I had been bringing in people into my investments occasionally. I could keep doing that, or I could go raise a fund. And in the past, every time I thought about raising a fund, I didn't really want to do it because I thought it was a little bit too constraining. If you raise a fund, it's like, okay, I'm investing at this stage, this geography, this type of company. You're kind of boxed in. But the reality was, as I went through that process, I realized, look, I'm investing in software technology, recurring revenue-based companies. That's what I know. I'm 55. I'm not changing at this point. That's kind of what I know. So let's go invest in that. I'm here in Kentucky. I'm not going anywhere. I think the middle part of the country is prime for finding and developing technology-based companies. And the reason I say that is that, again, if you go back 30 years, I didn't have the networks. I didn't have cloud-based services. I didn't have all the things, the tools that are now available for anybody to develop a technology-based service. Yeah. You can leverage what everybody else is doing. That's the beauty. You got APIs into just about everything, right? So the landscape is set up that you can do it anywhere.
Remote work is growing fast.
Remote work is I cannot predict the future. Yeah. Right. But what I say is I try to recognize it when I see it. Mm-hmm. And remote work is a perfect example of that. You can see that that's going to continue to occur, coronavirus or not. You can see that is kind of the future of how things are going to get done, and it makes perfect sense. As long as people can be productive, then it makes perfect sense that you don't have to have everybody in the same room all the time. So, you look at something like remote work, that's a big area, and you want to say, hey, let's find companies, again, back to that slipstream, get in the slipstream, right? And find big growth opportunities, find the right companies that get in that. So ultimately I said, all right, I'm going to go raise a fund because I know I want to do software technology. I know I want to do it in middle America. I know that there's opportunity there. And when I went about putting it together, I said, I'm going to go to, I'm not going to pension funds, at least initially, because I said, look, I just want to, somewhere in the $20, $25 million range. I want enough capital that I can go do enough transactions, but I don't want to get so big that I don't, that it turns into something bigger than I want it to be. I just want enough capital to be able to go do what I've been doing. Because I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job at it. I went to high net worth individuals, and all of whom are successful people in a variety of different industries, and I love that. I've got a network of 30 plus limited partners that have tremendous experience. And so much so that when I was putting the fund together, I said, I have an idea. I want to bring some of those, especially the ones that have software technology experience, I want to bring them on what I'm going to call as an investment advisory partner. Okay. So these are folks that have real direct experience in technology and software that can help me evaluate companies potentially, but then also help those companies, right? So if you ask what's my value add for Poplar is you get me. Yeah. Some people might say that's a negative, but in this case, you get me. I'm not, when you send me an email, I'm responding. You send me a text, I'm responding. You call me, I'm responding. So that is the one thing I've learned that from people through my career too. Fast response. Mm-hmm. It is so annoying when somebody tries to get to you, especially somebody you know, and you don't respond. Mm-hmm. So if I could tell young people one thing, respond, right? Just quick, get back, right? it's almost disrespectful when you don't do it.
What's long? What do you consider, real quick, just to put a number on it? Any kind of like what crosses the border of being too long?
Look, I try, and again, you can't always do it because you got stuff going on, and you got it may take. I literally try to respond within the day.
Yeah. Okay.
And you don't have to respond right away, but
right.
But get back to folks. It's common courtesy.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
So what I did is I out of that group of limited partners, I put together a group of investment advisory partners, and these are folks like Mike Davis, the CEO of Appriss, who basically has been with that company from the beginning, and it's turned that into a fantastic company here in Louisville. Chris Joseph, who's the CEO of Enablon, another $100 million plus SaaS business. He's based out of Chicago. Got to know him back in my first Chicago days. From the Zermatt side, Jim Lacey, who is the former CFO. He's now the president and COO at Collective Medical out in Salt Lake City, but he was the CFO at Zermatt, very involved in all the growth of that business and the strategy side. Chris Schremser, who's the CTO over at Zermatt, now Waystar. He helps me from a technology perspective. He's running the whole technology organization in a SaaS company. I've got a couple folks here locally that are, Vic Chadha, Greg Langdon. These are guys that I would argue around here are probably as clued in and as intelligent about early stage businesses in terms of advising them and mentoring them and helping them as anybody in the state, right? So they're involved. And then I've got a gentleman by the name of Doug Smith, also from E-Town, who was maybe a year behind me in high school, who's been working at Microsoft for 25 years. He runs cloud services for North America for Microsoft. So these are people that I have that are part of my team, as part of my investor base, and that's what I try to bring to bear to my companies. I try to, give them my experience in terms of what I've learned over the years. I try to obviously help them in, their individual companies. Help them with talent attraction, certainly help them with strategically. If you get to the corporate development side, I know that side pretty well. But then bringing all these other folks to bear. And I think that, if at the end of the day, it is about, trying to figure out a way to help these companies. I'm not a futurist. I don't think I know better than anybody else. I just try to identify what I think are unique opportunities and then help those businesses grow and be successful.